Hi there, boys and girls. Are you ready for story time today? Yesterday we read the story Jump Frog Jump, and today we're going to read about another animal that can jump really well, kangaroos. This story is called Katy No-Pocket. I usually save it for letter K for kangaroos, but since we've been talking about jumping, we're going to read it today. It's by Emmy Payne, pictures by H.A. Ray. That's the same person that does Curious George. Big tears rolled down Katy Kangaroo's brown face. Poor Katy was crying because she didn't have a pocket like other mother kangaroos. Freddie was Katy Kangaroo's little boy, and he needed a pocket to ride in. All grown-up kangaroos take awfully big hops, and little kangaroos, like Freddie, get left far behind unless their mothers have a nice pocket to carry them in. And poor Katy didn't have any pocket at all. Katy Kangaroo cried just thinking about it, and Freddie cried too. Then, all of a sudden, Katy had a wonderful idea. It was so wonderful, she jumped 6 feet up in the air. The idea was this. Other animal mothers have children, and they didn't have any pockets. She'd go ask one of them how they carried their babies. Freddie looked all around to see whom to ask, and Katy looked around as well. And what they both saw were bubbles rising up from the river right beside them. "Mrs. Crocodile," said Katy, feeling lots better already. "She hasn't any pockets. Let's ask her." A lot of big, muddy bubbles came up through the water. And then Mrs. Crocodile stuck her head up and opened her enormous mouth and smiled. "Why, Katy Kangaroo, what can I do for you today?" "Please, Mrs. Crocodile, I'm so sad," said Katy. "I have no pocket, and Freddie has to walk wherever we go, and he gets so tired." "Oh, dear." She started to cry again, and the crocodile began to cry too. And then she said, But what can I do?" "You can tell me how to carry Freddie," said Katy. "How do you carry little Catherine Crocodile?" "Oh, do, please tell me." Why, I carry her on my back, of course," said Mrs. Crocodile. She was so surprised that anyone shouldn't know that she forgot to cry anymore. Crocodile babies can ride on their mother's back. Katy was so pleased. She said thank you, and as soon as she got to a good squatting down place, she squatted down and said, "Now, Freddie, climb up on my back. After this, it will be so simple, no trouble at all." But it wasn't simple. In the first place, Freddie could not crawl up onto her back because his knees stuck out. He couldn't hang on because his front legs were too short. And when he did manage to hang on for a few minutes and Katy gave a long hop, he fell off. Bump, bang, with a terrific thump. Oh dear, that didn't work, did it? So Katy saw that she couldn't carry her baby on her back. Katy and Freddie sat down again and thought. "I know, I'll ask Mrs. Monkey. I'm sure she can help me." So Katy and Freddie set off for the forest, and soon they found Mrs. Monkey. She had her young son Jocko with her, and Katy Kangaroo hurried to catch up with him. She was almost out of breath, but finally she managed to squeak, "Excuse me, please, Mrs. Monkey, how do you carry Jocko?" "While in my arms, of course," said Mrs. Monkey. "How else would any sensible animal carry anything?" And then she whisked away through the trees. "Oh dear," said Katy, and a great big tear ran across her long nose. "I can't carry anything in these short little arms. Oh dear, she wasn't any help at all. What are we going to do?" And then she sat down and cried even harder than before. Poor Freddie. He hated to see his mother cry, so he put his paw to his head, and he thought and thought and thought. "What about the lion?" he asked, when Katy stopped crying a little. "They don't carry their children. The poor things walk, just the way you do," said Katy. There's birds," said Freddie. "How do they carry their babies?" "Birds? Mother birds push their children out of the nest, and they squawk and shriek and flap their little wings about." Birds and lions don't carry their babies, do they? Then all at once, Katy Kangaroo stopped crying and looked at Freddie. "They do say that the owl knows almost everything," she said slowly. "Well then, for goodness sakes, let's go ask him," said Freddie. And then they found the owl asleep in an old dead tree. Remember, owls are nocturnal. They sleep during the daytime. He was cross because he didn't want to be waked up in the middle of the day. But when he saw that Katy was so sad, he came out, blinking and ruffling his feathers, and said in a scratchy voice, Well, what is it? Speak up, and speak loudly. I'm deaf as a post." Katy stood under the tree and screamed at him, "I'm a mother kangaroo, and I haven't a pocket to carry my child in. How should I carry him? What shall I do?" "Well, get a pocket," said the owl, and then laid back down to sleep again. "Where?" cried Katy. "Oh, please don't go to sleep before you tell me. Where?" "How should I know?" said the owl. "They sell that sort of thing in the city, I believe. Now kindly go away and let me sleep." "The city?" said Katy, and she looked at Freddie with big round eyes. "Of course, we'll go to the city." Katy was so excited that she almost left Freddie behind as she went leaping over bushes and hopping along the path, singing a sort of hummy way a little song that she had just made up. "Hippity hoppity flippity floppity, wasn't it a pity? I didn't know it was to go to the city I should go." She hopped so fast that Freddie hardly could keep up, but at last they left the woods behind and came to the city. The city, where there were stores and houses and automobiles. The people all stared and stared at Katy, but she didn't notice it. She was looking for pockets, and she saw them. She saw that almost everybody had them. And then, all at once, she could hardly believe it, a man who seemed to be all pockets. He was simply covered in pockets. Big pockets, little pockets, medium-sized pockets. Do you see the man with lots of pockets? Katy went to him and laid a paw on his arm. He was a little frightened, but Katy looked at him with her big, soft, brown eyes and said, "Please, dear kind man, where did you get all those pockets?" "These pockets?" he said. "You want to know where I got all these pockets? Why, they came with the apron, of course." "You mean you can really get something to put on with all those pockets already on it?" asked Katy. "Sure you can," said the man. "I keep my hammer and nails and tools in my pockets, but I can get another apron. I'll give you mine." The man took off the apron and dumped it upside down. Out fell a saw, wrench, nails, a hammer, a drill, and lots of other tools. Then the man shook the apron hard and turned it back right side up again and hung it around Katy's neck. and tied it behind her back. Katy was so pleased and excited and happy that she couldn't speak. She just stood still and looked down at the pockets and smiled and smiled. By this time, a big crowd had gathered to see what Katy Kangaroo was doing, and when they saw how pleased she was, they all smiled too. Remember, when one person smiles, that makes everybody else smile. They feel good too. At last, Katy was able to say thank you to the nice, kind man. And then, what do you think she did? She popped Freddie right into a very comfortable pocket, and she hippity-hopped home faster than ever before, because of course she didn't have to wait for Freddie. He's in the most comfortable pocket in the front. And when she got home, what do you think she did? Well, she had so many pockets that she put Freddie into the biggest one of all. Then, into the next largest, she put little Leonard Lion. Thomas the Tortoise just fitted into another pocket. Sometimes she had a baby bird if its mother was busy on a worm hunt, and there was still room for Monkey, a skunk, a rabbit, a raccoon, a lizard, a squirrel, a possum, another turtle, a frog, and a snail. She can put all the animals into different pockets. So now, all the animals like Katy's pockets better than any other pockets in the whole forest. And Katy Kangaroo is very happy because now she has more pockets than any mother kangaroo in the world. Look at all those animals riding in her pockets. The end. Now I'm going back to sleep. Good night. Katy No-Pocket. I hope you enjoyed the story. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.